This week we're totally tropical, so come and join me to learn to make an arrangement just like this. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you happen to be. Welcome back. My name is Sharon and today we're going to look at something using tropical flowers. So we're moving away from traditional British flowers and having a look at something a little bit different. Now I do of course have viewers from all around the world, so you might find that my flower choice today is growing in your own garden, but for me here in the UK, some of them are quite unusual and quite different and materials that we don't use quite often. So it's nice to have a change and work with some different types of flowers. So I've got a bold coloured container, a nice bright cherry red, shiny base. It's a ceramic container. And I'm going to use half a block of floral foam that's going to sit quite comfortably there in the middle. And I'm not going to use any floral tape or anything to hold that in place. It's quite secure in there. It isn't going to move around. And I know my flowers and foliages are going to be secure and stable in that foam. If you feel it's moving around, then just wedge yourself some thin slithers of foam down the side and it'll stop your foam from moving around. And you might have noticed that this time I'm on the same level as my container, and that means that I won't be able to put any materials coming out horizontally on the side. I will have to rely on the shapes of my flower content to get the widths within my floral design. Okay, so let's get started. Let's see what we've got to work with today. Some of the tropical flowers you might have seen in a previous video, but I'm going to look at arranging them in a different manner. So we're going to start with the Cordyline, a beautiful red leafed foliage, and it's a front-facing design, so I'm going to start to the right of the centre of my foam. Now, it's not really a traditional arrangement, so I'm not going to look at starting this arrangement in the middle. I'm going to work on either sides. And I've got two of these, and they're going to sit almost in a parallel style in front of one another. So one is shorter than the other, and very much like traditional flower arranging, I've gone at least twice the height of my container. The base is quite dominant, it's quite shiny, the colour is very vibrant. It almost clashes with my leaves on the top, but because it's so vibrant, I need to make sure that the proportion of my flowers on top is visually more dominant than my base itself. Otherwise my container is going to take over and the design is, the flower choice of my design is going to be less significant. Now, my first two placements in. Next I'm going to look at the lime green conifer, and we have looked at this a few times before. It is already curving, so I'm going to work with that and I'm going to bring it out at the side. What I've done there at the base is I've cut it at an angle so that there is more surface area open to the foam. I've also taken a small amount of the stem off there so that when I insert it into the foam, it isn't going to rotate and spin around. So we've got two pieces that are going to come out at the side and make a bit of visual impact there on the opposite side. And it's a design that we're not following traditional British rules. We're grouping our flower content together and maximising the colours and the flower choices that I have. Now in this section here, I've got some really tall pieces of willow. So we're going to bring in some linear movement, and I've got a fabulous place just there to bring in some height. And lazy curved line is going to help your eye wander away from the base and the focal point of the arrangement. And I have a few of these pieces, so we're going to group those together in the centre, making the most of those lovely curved pieces. So that one's come in from the back. That's of course going to help me have some depth and create that three-dimensional effect. It's also going to bring some actual weight to the back of the arrangement so that it doesn't tip forward. So even though my foam is quite firmly wedged in there, the more material I add to the front is going to add the chance or the possibility that the foam will slightly slip forward. Okay, so what do we think so far? quick video, I think this one is going to be. Beautiful sweeping movement on this side. And what I'm going to do to balance that off is to use these palms. Now these are a Rhapsis palm, we've seen these once before, but I'm going to bring them on this side because the visual weight of these is going to balance off that real dynamic movement on the opposite side. Now when we looked at the Rhapsis palm once before, it was straight just like this, and all I've done is roll the top down and used a small staple to hold that into position, and I've worked all the way around the leaves so that each section is rolled back. Changes the shape of the flower. It's a really good manipulation with that leaf, and these are really quite versatile. If I go back to this first piece, I could have rolled every other leaf, or I could have folded down each leaf, or I could have even weaved and plaited them through one another to make a completely different shape altogether. And I'm just going to, when I'm sort of talking about manipulated leaves, in the box below, in the comments section, I'll link a book. So if anybody is interested in manipulating leaves, there's two really good books. I'm a member of the National Association of Flower Arranging Societies, and I've mentioned in one of the previous videos that they have a lot of books that you can buy. So if you look for NAFAS, N-A-F-A-S, you'll find a whole host of books there. If you want to join a flower club in the UK, then there will be lists of flower clubs in your local vicinity as well. So a little bit of a plug. So I'm going to go and sweep that curve round to the opposite side. And I've done 3 pieces of the leaves, and they're going to sit on top of one another. So we've got that real bit of dynamic placement on the opposite side. And remembering that because my foam is low to the container, I have to be quite precise in the placement of the leaves. I don't want to stick them upright so they're coming out of the foam at that sort of angle. So I'm going to have to bring them across the foam. And what that is also going to do is it's going to cover quite a large piece of my floral foam. So it works in 2 different styles. It works as a decorative form, and it works as a material to cover your floral foam. So this one is going to come slightly more towards the back, so that we're bringing that colour and that texture through to the back. But what do we think so far? That we could even leave that with just foliage. How would that be? Quite beautiful, I think. But I do have some flowers to put in, or what we would call a modified leaf. It's actually a bract. And I'm going to start with this one. This is Leucodendron. We quite often see it in the same colour tones as the leaf at the back. This one is called Gold Strike. It has a magical yellow end to it. And that is going to come in on top of those leaves on my right-hand side as I look at it. And I'm going to swoop them out so that we're not cluttering up that focal centre, that focal section in the middle. Now I'm going to remind you at this stage that of course it's really important to cut your flower stems every time they go into the floral foam. You might not see it on the video because sometimes they edit it out. But don't think that because you don't see it on the screen or I don't talk about it that I'm not actually doing it. You need to cut your stems, flowers, foliage, whatever you're using, every time you insert them into the foam. There, I had a bit of difficulty then getting that one into the foam, but I've got that real striking group of flowers all on one side that I love arranging the tropical flowers in this particular style. Now we have seen the Pincushion Protea once before. This is a slightly different variety, but almost the same colour. It's much shorter stemmed, and I'm going to bring this now to the opposite side so that I get a really good 3-dimensional effect with my arrangement. Now you can in the UK quite often pick up these type of tropical flowers in a supermarket bunch of flowers. The more high-end supermarkets, Marks and Spencer's, Waitrose, they often have bunches with this South African plant material in it. Otherwise, you have to go to your local florist shop, support the local businesses, and order some flowers in there so that you can get to arrange something that's a bit more unusual. How's that working? How's that working? Then in the centre section, where my focal point traditionally would be, I'm going to use some gerbera. I've got a fabulous orangey coloured gerbera, and I use this quite a lot. It looks really lovely with blue colour combinations. But I'm going to cut it short and place it down quite low to the foam. It's almost going to be used as a material to cover my floral foam, but it's going to give me a recessive point, and it's going to bring colour down low to the base. So that's one flower in there. Now, I often get asked questions about gerbera. They're quite hard to condition and quite hard to look after. And this is one of the reasons that I'm cutting it down short and placing it low in the arrangement, because they last much better when the flower's stem is short and the water doesn't have quite such a long distance to travel up the stem. And I'm almost doing that stepped effect that we looked at with foliage a few weeks ago. Instead of the gerberas being arranged in that radial fashion, I've sat them on top of one another, so they're almost like steps, almost a layered effect. It has a different name depending on what craft you're following, but stepping or layering is that technique where the materials are placed on top of one another. And when the gerbera is very long like this and you arrange it into the floral foam, it tends to get clogged up at the base with the floral foam, and then it doesn't take up a great deal of water. So I'm always a lover of gerberas in water, plain water, or cut down low in the floral foam, and you can get a real visual impact with the flowers down low at the base. Now that's my final gerbera in place, and I think that's probably one of my quickest videos. I don't have to think about covering the floral foam at the back because that one large leaf has done that job for me, and because my foam is below the level of my container, I haven't got a huge amount of foam to cover. But what do we think of that one? Is that something you would try at home? Now, if you don't have these tropical flowers like I've used today, then you could do it with some roses. The gerberas would be fine at the base, and maybe some large carnations, or even the big blooms that we can get hold of at the moment from the supermarket. But you know, have a go. Statement foliage is better for this type of design. You need large leaves, but you might even be able to buy these as a houseplant in your supermarket or garden centre. But go on, have a go, have a practice and see what you can come up with. So thanks again for watching. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying. Hit that bell to be notified every time I upload a new tutorial, and please add in the box below if you've got a question or a comment that you'd like to make. And I'm building slowly a list of designs that people want to see. So if there's anything I haven't covered and you would like me to talk about it, put it in the box below. And I look forward to seeing you all again very soon, and bye for now.